Welcome to the weekend must-watch on Intercut, where we wade our way through theaters, streaming, and on demand. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, do you know why he's here? It's Arturo Zurita.
To talk movies like every week, Zach. We are literally right at the cusp of entering that May season where we're gonna get so many blockbusters. I was looking at May and I was like, oh, it looks like a pretty decent month. Then I was looking at June and I was like, okay, we are back in
Yeah.
business. Uh, and then streaming's full throttle. And then it's crazy to think that that's not even the biggest thing we have for this week. There is so much television, you would swear that there is an Emmys deadline right around the corner.
Yeah, it is insane the amount of TV that we're dealing with. I mean, thankfully, the big release movies took basically a week off to kind of clear the room for Doctor Strange 2, but it's left us with a pile of TV to work through, and we've started to make our way through that pile. On this week, we're going to hit on a bunch of different shows from HBO, from Netflix, from Hulu, from maybe even some from channels that we don't talk about as often, but we are
Movies are making originals now.
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's all over the place. It's peak TV. Remember, like, what was it, 10 years ago? John Landgraf said that we were approaching peak TV. I feel like maybe, hopefully, we finally got here now that, like, all these stock prices are taking hits, and maybe Netflix is going to scale back on production
Money
a little
left
bit.
and right.
But
We'll see.
it's left us waiting through a whole lot right now. So without delaying too much, why don't we get into the what we're watching? And let's start it off actually with some stuff that's in theaters. We did want to give a quick shout out to Hatching, which is which hit theaters this weekend, and it's probably the best horror option out there for those of you who are living the hashtag horror lifestyle. But that one's going to be available on VOD. I think it was May 17th.
Isn't that crazy? Even more than VOD, I believe it's getting picked up as well by a streaming service. I don't have it right off the top. Once we get to that week, yeah, in 1 week it'll be out for you to get in the comfort of your own home. But I think this is one that if you were interested in it, I think I was on the happier side. I'm not even happier. I think I was more on the joyous side of how crazy of a body creature feature this one was out of Sundance. So I know we talked about it more over there, but if the trailer intrigues you, I think it's worth catching as a matinee at least. But if not, definitely catch it once it gets home. And I'm pretty sure it's streaming somewhere. So you may already be paying for the ability to see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you don't have to wait that long for even those theatrical exclusives, except for basically the A24 ones, unless it seems like. But, Ambulance is available to rent at home now, too.
That hurts, man. Yeah. I was telling Alina, I was like, I don't know if this is just what happens when you get older. Time just moves differently. But I told her, I'm like, I swear to you, it's because these releases are happening too fast. The lifespan of a movie has been cut short to the point that it feels like time is going faster than it really is. And we started talking about like midnight releases, and now they're 10 o'clock. So now Doctor Strange is premiering on Thursday at like 2 p.m. So it's like all of it has just completely shifted.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the biggest release in theaters this weekend, which I didn't get around to, but Art, you are back in the adventures with Liam Neeson, who has some more people to take care of, some more family to avenge or crimes to solve or something to do where Steven Seagal no longer will go. I don't know why the esteemed actor Liam Neeson has just really dedicated his career to these kind of like schlocky action flicks for more than a decade now, but he's still churning them out. This one, Memory, seems to be taking some pages out of Memento's notebook, which, granted, Memento is one of my favorite films ever, but I don't know. Yep. Do you feel like this one holds up at all?
Well, it also has Guy Pearce, right?
Yeah.
Like, I did not realize Guy Pearce was in the movie, so then he appears. I was like, well, that's, he's like talking to Liam Neeson, seeing all the notes on his arms, and he's like, you should probably use photographs. They help a little bit better. Yeah, so this is a remake of a Dutch film back from 2003, so it's not copying Memento, or Memento wasn't copying it, because I think Memento's 2000.
2002.
This would be an 2003, yeah. It's an 2003 movie that has like 3 different names. It's Memory of a Killer originally, but then it's also like the Diary of an Assassin with Alzheimer's. There's like a bunch of different names that this had. It pretty much is that. It is a hitman who is on the brink of retiring because he has Alzheimer's, and right before he's about to go, he's about to uncover this big child trafficking ring. For this new one, because it now takes place in America, it's right at the border of Mexico. So they're kind of intertwining this whole concept of using a lot of the camps as a way to be able to funnel children. Just like his previous movie, what was it? Day by Night, Blacklight. I'm blanking on what the one was that he just released this year. Blacklight, yeah. Right? I want to say, again, he usually does one a year. He did 2 this time around, and I'm really surprised that they happened so quick, and the fact that Blacklight's already out on VOD as well. But he's been keeping it pretty, like, I don't know, kind of like playing both sides. So it's like part of it will be like he's trying to take down this elite group of people who are using like immigration. So he's talking about that, but then at the same time, he gets a little bit into the idea of like, can you take children and harvest their blood? Maybe, I don't know. That's a subplot with Monica Bellucci that we're not going to get into. So it's like he's playing it on all corners. The problem with the movie is that it's funny for reasons that it shouldn't be hilarious for. It felt like they had different microphones for every single one in the cast, and depending on if you were principal or not, that kind of changed whether you had a good mic or not. There were moments where Liam Neeson's character, in terms of the adaptation, was pretty close because I was able to find the original movie online. It is very difficult to find it, but it is pretty beat for beat, except for the moments where Liam Neeson needs to do action. My man's 70, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he's about to turn 71 in like a month. I'm not saying that there aren't moments where he still got it because he did not have it in Blacklight. Here he does. There's some really nice moments where you're like, oh look, he's still doing his thing. But in terms of the acting, I think everybody's underused, in my opinion. I think that there are moments where it feels like characters are dubbed when they shouldn't be dubbed. And we just found a lot of the scenarios to be hilarious when it's such a deep topic because it's obviously talking about very illegal things. If you're into the Liam Neeson movies, I don't think this is any different or worse than the previous slew of stuff that he's done. But I am missing that Liam Neeson that does the dramas.
Yeah.
I need it. I expect the fall for us to get the good Liam Neeson because when you look at it, he hasn't been too far off. You know, he'll make a Buster Scruggs, he'll make a Silence, Monster Calls.
That's the thing.
Then he makes these movies in order to pay the bills, I guess.
I know there's a little bit of like one for them, one for us going on with most Hollywood actors nowadays, but I need a little bit more for us from Liam Neeson at this point because it's
when he was making the
between.
Takens, those were for everybody, you know. But he just has not been able to do another Taken like that. That particular set of skills is gone.
Yeah, it seems like it. So maybe memory isn't the best use of Liam Neeson's talents, but there's not a whole lot of other options out there when it comes to theaters, comes to virtual. If you're looking for a movie, it looks like you got to go to streaming, although the options may be a little bit limited, at least as far as Netflix releases are concerned. I did not bother returning to the world of Polish cinema, which I know is a little unlike me, but when it comes to the 365 Days series, I leave that to you and Amanda to try and tackle.
365 Days This Day is the sequel to the #1 global sensation that they had. I remember when I think it was Amanda and I both made videos, and then people were letting us know that the radio stations, because radio stations just don't want to play for the critics anymore, they realized no one listens to us. We're just going to take these YouTubers' reviews, and they were broadcasting them on the radio station for this movie because everyone was talking about it, but they couldn't get people to actually talk about it.
That's so funny.
The sequel is out, and I know that we always say that these movies are bad. If you at least keep the consistency of schlock to the same degree, then maybe you'll continue having hits. Somehow this is worse. The fans of the original are disappointed. That's when you know it gets bad. Amanda read the book, so definitely go check out her video. She kind of gives you the whole comparison between what has changed.
A little bit more of a masochist than either of us.
Yeah, she's read like the whole trilogy, I think. She found a way to like translate the third one that I think it's still like in Polish. She probably took like a dual legal class in order to get the video out for you. But like, nah, this new one is just terrible. I think it's one of those that's so bad you want to play like a drinking game, but then you're gonna like probably get alcohol poisoning. It's nowhere near as absurd as the first one was, which is kind of what made it entertaining. Mm-hmm. This one's just dumb. You know, like it's just extremely dumb.
Mm.
And I fear for the third one. But I'll be there watching it when it comes out. I do not recommend this. It is on your number one. Put child protection locks, not for your kids, for yourself, so you don't accidentally stumble upon this movie. 365 this day. Don't watch it any day. The Marilyn Monroe one, though, was kind of decent.
Oh, yeah?
You talked about this, your theory, that they're putting this out way too early.
Yeah. Like
Because?
they seem to not want people to watch the Andrew Dominic movie Blonde for whatever reason. Because it's been a troubled production and now it's going to be like NC-17. But yeah, why not hype that interesting Ana de Armas movie up with a documentary about the same person?
I don't get it. I mean, it's not necessarily the best part about this documentary is any behind the scenes footage of productions or just of her that you haven't seen, trying to connect different things. But it's also not a really good doc either. It's kind of like a conspiracy doc about like maybe these were the reasons, and it's like a lot of speculation, and then that's it, which really has become their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of speculation, and you got a doc. That's all this is. Anyone who's got an opinion, it's practically video essay opinions that have now just become Netflix documentary productions. But if you want some behind the scenes footage, I think that's the only reason to catch this doc. It does not tell you anything that you didn't know. Did you know her and JFK may have something, Zach? That's the doc.
It's Marilyn Monroe, the mystery of Marilyn Monroe for the people who've never probably heard of Marilyn Monroe.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
well, I mean, that would be a useful documentary for Ana de Armas fans who, you know, are maybe like 20 years old or less and catch that movie Blonde and want to find out some more stuff. But again,
they better release that, man.
When is Blonde coming out, man? Like, give us the Andrew Dominic movies. I don't understand why.
Hopefully this year.
Netflix just likes paying for things that they don't release.
Man, if you could have 365s, give me the NC-17 out of that. Come on, let's do it.
All right, so maybe some better streaming options on other services. I didn't get around to catching this one, but Art, you told me that you actually liked the new Hulu release, Crush.
Yeah, I thought Crush was pretty cute. It's not going to change anything for the genre or enhance it in any way, but it's a nice little spin on it. Pretty much you have Rowan, I want to say her name is. She was from Girl Meets World, so the spinoff. Over on Disney Plus, and she hadn't really done much in a minute. This is her coming back. I know they also have the actress who was in Love Victor. I think she's a pretty good actress. She kind of plays her crush that she really has on, and she's this artist who's trying to figure out who's the person graffitiing around. There's kind of like a Banksy going on in the school, and as she's trying to kind of get her crush to fall for her, she has to join track and ends up maybe falling for her sister instead, who took us the entire movie because she looks so familiar. And at the end, we realized it's the actress who voices Moana.
Oh.
The legend who got hit at the Oscars while she was performing the song.
And kept
She's
performing.
goated in my eyes. That's her in this movie. So I've never seen the shows that she's been in, so I'm sure that she's done a lot of different live action work. This would be my first time, if I'm not mistaken, seeing her in a live action movie. Thought she was good in it. I think it's pretty funny. It's got some nice lines here or there. There's obviously a lot of lines that are over the top, especially like with the character of her mom saying a lot of just abrupt things that may not be funny, but like the bit just continues going. But I thought anytime that you were dealing with teenagers, anytime that you were dealing with the romance side of it, I thought it was fun for what it was worth. It's over on Hulu. I think it's very enjoyable. And my boy, Tyler Alvarez, dude.
Yeah.
American Vandal, he's going to be on that Blockbuster show as well. He kills it. I'm really surprised that he has not been in like a movie, like in theaters. He's been the streaming boy for a minute. Mm-hmm. I think more people need to know about him. I think he deserves to be up on the big screen. If they can get Centennial up on the big screen, they can get Tyler.
Right. His performance in American Vandal was too good. People thought he was actually that guy.
He's that guy. He's that guy, Zach. He is that guy.
He's that guy.
But yeah, no, I'm curious for you to catch this one. It's a nice, just chill movie.
Yeah.
I find it really fun.
Yeah, and you said my girl Addie Weyrich is funny in it, so I'm happy to see her getting slowly getting bigger. I know she's got like a Katie Aselton movie coming up too, so yeah, I'll definitely catch up with Crush. A very tonally different movie, also available on streaming. This one first premiered at the 2021 TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival. It's called The Survivor. It is about a boxer, Harry Haft, who fought against other Jews in concentration camps during World War II,
Damn.
and how he's haunted by those memories after the war. It's a really, really intriguingly told story. This one's directed by Barry Levinson and stars Ben Foster as well as Billy Magnuson and Vicky Krieps. We were talking about Danny DeVito shows up in a fun, smaller role in this one too. I think it's a very competently directed, interesting story of a person who is made to live through a lot, right? It's not just the Holocaust. It's all it's what his life became afterward and all the stuff that he's had to walk around with and deal with. And I think it does something pretty interesting in the fact that because it is the story of a boxer, it kind of in some ways resembles a sports movie, but rather than having the big fight come at the climax of the movie, it comes like way in the middle of the movie and then sort of leaves you to stay with this guy as he deals with the fallout and deals with moving on and moving forward. And I think that's ultimately what this movie does really well, is that it demonstrates the burden of those memories as well as the burden of the experience and how they are separate but both heavy to carry. And a lot of that is really achieved through this amazing Ben Foster performance, who is just I've been on his corner for a little while. I think he is often giving like 110% into movies that don't necessarily deserve it. But here's another case where he is just giving amazing, amazing work to a film that is ultimately like not going to get the kind of attention that maybe it or he deserves. I thought he was transportive in this and just unrecognizable in moments. If not for the story, then his performance should be enough to make it worth your while. Because it's also, you were commenting when we were talking before the stream, it's a pretty beautifully shot film as well.
Oh yeah, easily. That's one of the reasons why every time that we get the like early screeners, it's like nah. They did something with this. I want to make sure we get it in its full quality. But in terms of, because obviously it's an HBO thing, so they're kind of pulling what they did with Bad Education.
Yes.
Where
It's
it is
the
now an
TV
HBO
movie.
TV movie, and unless the Emmys change it, the TV movies still go up against anthology series. So do you see him being able to sneak his way in there in terms of a nomination? I truly believe we're at the point with, and we're about to get to the TV in a minute, there are way too many miniseries, anthologies now. It is its own thing now.
Yeah.
Like, that needs to be its own category. Those are all combined. There's going to be a point where it's going to have to be comedy limited series and then drama limited series. It's becoming that big. But from what I saw, I think it would be really cool to see him get some recognition there, because I agree with you. I think that he's one of the best character actors we have. And I was doing some research, bro. Matthias Schoenaerts, those two have been going for the same roles. Every time I was going through his movies on the IMDb and I was seeing something that he was in, it would say Matthias also came for this part and he had to drop out. So I went to him and I'm like, damn, is that why like Ben Foster was going all the way up, and then it feels like a lot of his roles were taken? These two have been going at each other. And I love Matthias, but I think Ben Foster's definitely overlooked for a lot of the roles that he takes.
Yeah.
Leave No Trace, another really good one.
Yeah, he's excellent in that. I definitely think he would be hopefully is in consideration for Emmys with this role. As we kind of mentioned earlier, the Emmy deadline is approaching, so maybe that's part of the reason why we're seeing this film now. I don't really know what his competition is this year, and like we've been saying, there's so much competition when it comes to TV right now, but it's a really great performance, so I'm hoping he is able to like stay in that discussion and maybe get some more eyeballs on this story.
So,
all right, so we begin our endeavor through the world of streaming television, just series after series after series, so much stuff to work through. Let's kick it off with the return of season 4 of Ozark, because it is the first of this upcoming Netflix trend of splitting final seasons into 2 parts. Or maybe not even final seasons, because Stranger Things is also getting the 2-season or the mid-season split. We had part 2 of Ozark drop, I think, in February earlier this year, and now the series has wrapped up. It's delivered its final episodes ever. I've always held the show's similarities to Breaking Bad against it, but the gap between them feels a little bit more substantial than it's kind of maybe ever felt when comparing their finales. To me, Ozark has just always been a less precise show. It's less precise thematically, it's less precise visually, and it's definitely less precise when it comes to its story, which by the end of the show only felt like mostly resolved. I kind of felt like the final episode felt more like a season finale than a series finale. I think the show has always been more of a blunt force object than what you get from the Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul universe, where it's like really finely crafted. In Ozark, it like there are these moments that really do hit you, and where you do feel the show, all the strings being pulled in the right ways to make you feel like excited and surprised and whatever, but it just never really resonated to me in the way that I wanted it to, in a way that made me feel like there's more beyond the surface. I also can't help but feel a little bit discomforted by the way that the show ultimately tore through the Ozarks in general. Maybe it's part of Ozark's larger point about how upper middle class people are insulated from the real harm of the drug trade, but if they wanted to make that point, they did it in a really like uncomfortable and brutal way. I don't know. It's just never fully added up for me, even though I've stuck with the show and enjoyed most of my time with it. I thought this was a very, very good season for Julia Garner, who kind of grew into the main reason to watch the show. Her performance has always been so dynamic in the series, and her character, I think, one of the most interesting. So I don't know. I'm a little. It's a bittersweet taste in my mouth at the end of this finale, but it's an intriguing ride. I wouldn't say it's not worth it, but not necessarily like the best out there right now.
Okay, interesting. But it's definitive. Like that's it. They're done.
I mean, like if Netflix wanted to drop $20 million in front of Jason Bateman and say like we need season 5, I'm sure it would happen. But it's definitive enough that they don't need to. And considering their current problems, I don't know if they're going to spend that kind of money on it.
They're going to need someone in the Ozarks funneling some extra stuff.
Yeah.
I'll get around to it. I'm like a season and a couple episodes behind, but I got that, and I should be catching up with the actual better one, which is Better Call Saul. So a lot of TV in terms of that to catch up on. But
I did want to mention
the one I did catch up on.
Oh yeah, what?
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention briefly Undone, because you said you had caught all of it last week. I didn't get around to it. I was able to watch the first episode, so now I'm like a little bit into where the story's going.
You liked one though.
Yeah. Oh, I loved one. Yeah, I think both of us had that like in our top 5 TV of the year, whatever year that was. It's an excellent season of television, and we were both kind of the opinion that like it didn't need to come back, and maybe shouldn't have, because that first season does feel kind of really perfect. But
I was in the opposite.
You wanted it to come back.
It was on Letterboxd, right? Because it was a miniseries originally.
Yeah.
And I said, nah, this feels like it's undone. And I got ripped to shreds. I'm like, I just think there should be a season 2. Season 2 comes out. Messages start getting deleted, Zach. I'm like, that's what I thought. But I didn't change my review. So now that there's a season 2 out, I'm getting people going, what do you mean it's not undone? Haven't you seen season 2? I'm like, this is an old review. I don't know what to do. There's no winning in this, but I now feel that it is fully wrapped up. Okay. I don't know if they were thinking of going 3 the same way that Russian Doll was originally thinking of going 3, but I think 2 perfect, I don't want to call it perfect, but 2 really great seasons is all that this story needs. Big fan of 1, just like yourself, even with the ending. Season 2, I think, brought a lot to the table, and considering you're only on episode 1, I'm very curious your opinion on where the story ends up going, considering that there's a lot more flashbacks and flash forwards, and even to a degree flash sideways, which right up my alley.
Yeah, I love a show.
What do you think of the?
Sorry, I just was going to say I love a show that'll play with the timeline and the idea of linearity like that. That's very cool to me. I was really taken just by returning to this show for the first time in a while by the animation and that rotoscoping style, which is so compelling and beautifully done in a way that I don't know if rotoscoping always works this well. I think they've managed to utilize it in a way that really benefits the world of the show, in that because she's able to float in and out of her memories, the way that rotoscoping will have her sort of floating in and out of different scenes, it makes you really feel like a part of it. And I don't know, it just, something about it, it's a really cool formula. It just sort of it's cohesive, right? Like the
Yeah.
visual style and the story is very working. It works together really well. So
Yeah,
I'm
I agree.
definitely, especially given your review, I'm really really excited to catch up with the rest of the season. Maybe I'll finish season 2 this week, and we can do an after credits or something next week on that.
Yeah, I think it's good. Everybody hop on that one. Hopefully you guys give it a chance. It's
Cool.
one of the best things Prime has.
Continuing through shows, let's go to Under the Banner of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't bring that
Over
one up.
on Hulu.
Yeah, over.
I could talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
go
it.
ahead, Vamp.
Under the Banner of Heaven is over on Hulu. I believe we got the first 2 parts of this
Yes.
miniseries that the boy is doing, Andrew Garfield, before he takes his break. You know, he had Tick Tick Boom, he had Tammy Faye, he did a little cameo in some independent film that came out last year, and this was one of his last projects before he said he's about to go on break.
Mm.
But he's bringing it in yet again, another TV miniseries where he's looking to get an award. There is going to be a stacked Emmys, but in this one you have a murder that has taken place of this young Mormon woman played by the actress who is in Normal People over
And
on Hulu as well,
and in Fresh more recently, Daisy Edgar
and in
Jones.
Fresh. Daisy, thank you very much. She looks so much younger in this movie, which is
Yeah.
why it caught me off guard. I was like, she looks so familiar. But she's playing a young woman who has married or got together with this other Mormon individual, and then a murder happens that leads not only to the investigation of said case, but to the Mormon Church in general, and especially this family who may feel like they've been ripped off due to the rights of their land. And it's a procedural movie or series, I guess. It really is movies. You know, it's just a long, elongated
8-hour
version of this.
movies.
8-hour movies. I believe it is based off of a book, if I'm not mistaken. But so far, I think it's pretty good. I think it's shot very well. I think the performances, especially from the guy who gets arrested right at the beginning,
Right.
is done pretty well. The casting is really good because once you cut to the family and you're getting all of these behind the scenes to like what led up to all of the turmoil, you got who else is in this? Sam Worthington, who's playing a brother. You got one of the Culkins in there. Like it's a really good cast and set of characters. I believe it's going to be running for 6 to 7 episodes. So if you're into your procedurals and you're trying to like catch different things from each of the characters as they're getting interrogated, this is that like very LA noir investigative. Like I don't trust that person. Oh, I can see a little bit coming off of here.
But it's also got this sort of like interesting religious bent to it, right? Because it's a murder that takes place in the LDS community, and Andrew Garfield's character is a Mormon as well. So there's kind of this like questioning of faith because the murders are also done under the pretense of being like God's plan or something like that. So I'm also intrigued to see how the show wants to play with matters of faith and
it's doing a good job.
Scrutability of those kind of questions. I'm very curious to see where it's going to go. There's also a pretty talented group of people behind this show. The main writer, Dustin Lance Black, is obviously Academy Award winning for his script for Milk. But it's also done several other interesting films. And the show is directed by a few interesting people. Isabel Sandoval directs an episode. I see Dustin Lance Black directed another episode. But the first show was directed by David Mackenzie, who's also done Hell or High Water and Starred Up and some other interesting movies. So a lot of really cool people are involved with this show. I'm definitely curious to see which direction it heads from these first couple of episodes.
It was a good one. Have it on your radar.
Yeah. All right. Where else are we headed when it comes to streaming? Do you want to
Bunch
talk about
of premieres,
The Baby?
Dude. The Baby, not the one who's always under turmoil, but The Baby over on HBO. Yeah, this is an HBO original. Remember, there is a difference between the HBO Max selections and the HBO originals, and they are claiming this one to still be something that they're putting their money behind. You know, this is going to get its weekly thing. This is not going to be all thrown out at once.
Yeah.
And it is this thriller pretty much set in the world of what would be The Omen, what would be Rosemary's Baby. You know, it is a baby that finds itself in the arms of a woman who's never wanted to have a child. She's just out there renting this like Airbnb by a cliff near the water, and murders happen that leads with a baby in her arms. could take all the allegories that come with it. You could see all of the homages, and they do some very clever homages in the background. But you also just have, I think, a really intriguing character in where all of her friends are pregnant or have a child, and she's the one who's kind of been left behind. So I like that you can have, this Damien storyline and still be able to do something different while acknowledging all the previous iconic storylines that have come before it. I'd put this one on your radar, Zach. They're very short episodes, only 30 minutes long.
Okay, cool.
Beautifully shot. And I'm really invested in the characters so far. It's going to be really intriguing to see where they take it.
And you were saying, like, while it does remind you of some of those shows or movies that's maybe making an homage to, it does feel like unique enough in its way.
I'll put it to you this way. Last year, there was a movie on Hulu, right, to show you the difference between Hulu and HBO, called False Positive.
Yeah.
That decided, what if we did Rosemary's Baby, but like modernized? And they're like, baby, Rosemary's Baby was already modernized to that degree. So they just like butchered it. This would be that version of it. This is a nice spin to the story. I'm behind it. Looking forward to the next episode, which I believe they drop on Mondays or something like that. I can't. Yeah, so there's another episode already on.
All right.
So definitely get on that one.
I have to catch up with that one. Another one that's not HBO, but HBO Max is season 2 of Made for Love. Barely knew that this thing was coming out, despite the fact that I had Made for Love.
Terrible marketing.
As one of my favorite TV shows. Was it last year? When it came out, I don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing. Not only is the marketing so bad that like most regular people probably don't know that the season's out, they're not even doing a good job getting this show to critics. Made for Love has 0 reviews from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, part of that is because there is an avalanche of new TV out there, and we're all busy watching other stuff. But I don't know. Maybe if you're releasing a new TV show, make sure that people are able to watch it.
I feel like they sent you an email saying here are the links, and then just it never got to the inbox.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I don't know, man. I don't know if you were able to catch any of the new episodes.
The first 2.
I did. They're good. I think you like the show a little bit more than I do. I like it as background television personally, and I love the cast. Always hate Billy Magnuson. He does a great job in it, but
Billy Magnuson,
it hasn't
by the
won
way,
me over completely.
Very convincing as a Nazi in The Survivor. So one more point for
shocked
your
face. Oh my goodness! I've told you this, bro. I've told you this.
Yeah,
Terrible
definitely
man.
has a face that's easy to make him hateable. Works in this show as well. I did like this show. The first season I thought was really intriguing as just a mix of this like futuristic technology slash like a paranoid thriller in a kind of comedic tone. In terms of the way the technology is being implemented. So far into the second season, it's a little bit less of those things and a little bit more of just playing out its story. And I don't know, I think there's a lack of suspense in those first couple of episodes. They tried to throw in a little bit by like foreshadowing to some potential violence, but there isn't sort of like this thing hanging over the show waiting to drop the way that I felt in the first season. There's a little less urgency so far into the second season through 2 episodes. So I'm hoping that it'll maybe find itself because they are introducing some interesting elements, but it's not as exciting as I thought the first season was so far. So I'll stick with the second season and see if it pulls anything out. But yeah, I'm a little bit mixed on those first 2 episodes so far.
That's all I gotta say. It's kind of the same from the last one. But we still have a bunch of other premieres, dude.
Yeah, let's go to Bang
On Prime.
Bang Baby instead of The Baby.
A lot of babies
baby
this year.
shows, yeah.
So this one is being split into 2 halves. So the first half is already on Prime, the first couple like 5-6 episodes, and then the next half is going to come at the end of this month. Like it's crazy to me that the way that they split them, even with Ozark, was like in February you're getting these, and immediately afterward you're getting the other ones. So this is one in where you have this girl who thought her father was dead, and then one day sees in the newspaper, whoa, that man looks a lot like my dad, and ends up maybe being invested into a criminal underbelly that she didn't realize was there, or even more so, didn't realize that she was a part of. I've only seen a couple the beginning episodes. The poster caught my eye. The trailer looked gorgeous, and the series itself lives up to that. It is beautifully mixed. It's very poppy. The colors shine bright, and it's an Italian series, and
Oh,
I've been really invested. Yeah. Into just kind of like the storyline and the way that it's shot as you follow her, kind of like try to get answers. Um, I'm going to be catching up on this one. Again, I have not completed the first half of episodes, and I can't give my rating until I see how the first season wraps at the end of May. But if you are looking for something a little bit different than your regular American crime stuff, catch this one over on Prime. What
very
do they say?
cool.
Bang Bang Baby?
Bang Bang
Pretty
Baby.
decent.
Intriguing. All right, tell me about this other one though, because I'm very excited to check out
Dude.
Vanessa Bayer in I Love That for You, a new show on Showtime, which has been killing it, especially with their comedies recently. So yeah, I mean she's I think one of the very underrated comedians working today. Has one of my favorite I Think You Should Leave sketches. But she takes center stage for I Love That for You. I don't even really know what this show's about. Tell me about it.
So I think she's also creator on the show,
Yeah.
and Molly Shannon's probably like producer on it. So pretty much she is a girl who had cancer, and growing up while she was doing all of her chemo treatments, she would always watch the selling you stuff on TV
Hmm.
late at night. What is it called? Those
QVC
marketplaces.
kind of stuff.
There you go. Yeah, that stuff. She was infatuated with that. Goes into remission, grows up, isn't really selling anything, and then finally gets the opportunity to go be there with her mentor, played by Molly Shannon, and be able to like host a show. She is insanely awkward. So when they want to fire her, she realizes she can use the cancer card to remain on the show. The trailer kind of hides the fact that she is a lot more manipulative than gives on. And in the first 5 minutes, you see it and you realize, oh, that's what this show is.
Okay.
It is awkward, it is cringy, but there are some lines that had us laughing out loud. If you're a fan of her in any way, shape, or form, definitely catch this show. I'm very curious to see how they extend it, especially because you have this crazy cast of characters who realizes that when they're selling you something, they're selling an idea. So it's like, are you the single mom? Are you the mom with several kids who can do several things? Are you the influencer? Are you the young poppy one? They like have you define yourself to one characteristic to be that kind of like trendy thing that you can give to an audience.
So is
And it's like
this
her trying to discover what she is.
so is this like the comedic white lie from last year?
To a degree,
Yeah.
kind of. A little bit.
A little bit.
Except for the fact that she actually did have cancer, which is what makes it even more messed up.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I would definitely say put this
Yeah.
one on your radar. I thought the first episode was hilarious. It's got me hooked. I'll be watching it on a weekly basis, and I'm just hoping that it sticks the landing because they have a really good cast of characters.
Cool. I'm very excited to catch up with this one. Just from your description of it, it also reminds me of the Bobcat Goldthwait movie with Robin Williams, World's Greatest Dad. Just sort of in that dark, manipulative humor area. I don't know.
That
Yeah.
it's there. Yes, it's in that pocket.
Cool. I'm excited for that one. And Vanessa Bayer is just so funny. So, and especially with Molly Shannon too. I feel like they have very similar energy. They're mother and daughter on the show.
No,
No?
that is her idol, who she grew up
Okay.
watching.
'Cause
And
I
what
would
I
have
love
buy them
about
as
that
mother
is
and
that
daughter also.
exactly, but even in that, that's almost what she is to her.
Right.
Because that's who she wants to be, and they also have some really nice dramatic moments within the cringy humor. So I'm really looking forward to the show. I think they add something.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we got Clark is coming out later this week, I think. So wait, let's.
Yeah, Clark comes out next week, so we'll talk about it there.
Yeah.
I don't know when the embargo for that is, but we still have so many more, man. Let's talk about the Apple one.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Shining Girls is the new series that is showing on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
It stars I'm
Elizabeth
blanking on her name.
Moss, the queen of television, of Mad Men, of Top of the Lake, of Handmaid's Tale. Like, if Elizabeth Moss is in your TV show, it should be a banger. So does she continue?
She needed the Apple TV Plus credit there.
Yeah. Does she continue that run onto Tim Cook's favorite service?
Dude, this is a really good looking show. So it is a thriller that's kind of flashing forward in times a little bit in terms of this woman who kind of met an individual back in the day who's kind of haunted her. And now in the present-ish time, she's trying to figure out who this murderer is, who's kind of like scoping out people. It all takes place in Chicago. gorgeously shot, Zach.
Nice.
And obviously she's incredible in the role because she's also kind of dealing with this trauma as they're trying to investigate who this person is. You also have the different time period of it, so which is that causes the investigation to go the way that it does. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I believe this is going to be going on for a weekly basis up until June, if I'm not mistaken. But again, another one with Pachinko, with We Crash that had just wrapped. This is another one that I think is not a mini series, but a series that they're gonna be pumping out and just continuously building that repertoire. Because right now, yeah, they kind of have equal. I'm not saying more. They have equal hits to HBO to a degree. So yeah, they've got some really good ones on their horizon. And I think if you want another type of serial killer thriller, this is a good one to have on your radar.
Yeah, there's a couple Apple TV Plus shows that are maybe like more average or forgettable. You know, like they put a lot of money into that one with Julianne Moore and Clive Owen. I'm forgetting the name of it already.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah, and
he was a writer or something like that. Yeah,
and like I didn't really see anybody really talking about it. But when they hit, they really hit, and there's some stuff on there that's really great. And I don't know if it's necessarily getting seen by a lot of people right now, but if you're willing to drop that money on Apple TV Plus, like right now, it's actually a pretty good deal. In terms of what they've got on there. Yeah. For Shining Girls, would you say you're more into it for kind of like the is it sort of horror adjacent or is it more like thrillery?
I would say it's more thrillery. But it's also, I think right now in particular, because the investigation is like barely starting. Right. I really like their production design. Obviously, not just the fact of the location and where they film, but they really do a great job of making it like a period piece for its time and changing the buildings and changing a lot of the aesthetic of where she works and such. So they're building a really nice world in it. So I'm very curious to see how they flesh that out, because at least that's what Apple has right now. They're throwing budgets so that the shows don't look cheap. And even if they do end up sitting, at least it's there, you know, for when people actually do find it.
All right, let's talk about a couple other shows. My outline will cooperate with me. You also caught a little bit of The Offer over on Paramount Plus, which I think is now maybe 4 episodes into its run. 3 episodes, 4 episodes?
Could be 4 at this point, yeah. But this is the new one from Paramount that is looking back at the production of The Godfather. We were sent all of the episodes, and I know we were able to cover it a little bit last week, but this is an interesting story because you're really seeing what goes behind the scenes in the movie business, right? How do you get the rights to a book? How do you figure out what's going to be the best director? And you're dealing with all the ins and outs of it, while also realizing that this may be a production that actually pisses off the mob. So in the first couple of episodes, you're seeing that build up with Giovanni Ribisi's character, who's kind of like the henchman for the mob who don't want The Godfather to be made. So that's like a really interesting perspective where you're able to see the best of both worlds. What happens for a film production, and then what happens when the real world doesn't want that story to go out. I think it's more nerdy than I was expecting it to be, which isn't a bad thing. In the ins and outs of like having to travel here, having to fly over here to make this deal, having to go over there to make this business deal. I kind of like that. So I'm curious to see who this is going to hit for, because again, it's on Paramount Plus. That's already something that that puts it back. Not everybody has Paramount Plus. But I know there's also a movie in the works where, I know you're a big fan of Dan Fowler playing but there is one where the boy Oscar Isaac is going to be playing Francis Ford Coppola, and that's going to be a feature film. So
right. Yeah, it's part of the competing projects thing that happened sometimes. I don't know. I'm intrigued by this one. There's something about the way it's produced that seems a little bit like I don't know, like cosplay-ish to me. I don't know if you have that vibe at all from it. But
yeah, it's Paramount talking about Paramount.
Yeah.
No. It's interesting, but it's like, I know it's not going to be the most in-depth, and yes, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. But I'm still intrigued to check this one out. I saw that Miles Teller's grandmother approves of his performance in this one, so that's cute. Let's talk a little about Better Call Saul, which is a couple of episodes into its exciting 6th season. I don't want to say too much about it because, you know, I think part of what's so good about it is enjoying the pleasure of the ride and getting the twists in the story when they come, because they're very patient about how they dole things out. This is a show that was called Better Call Saul, ostensibly about a guy named Saul Goodman, and did not introduce the name Saul Goodman until well into its third season, you know? So
That's fire.
I really like the way they go about connecting the dots, and it's very interesting to see what they're going to do now that they're getting closer and closer to the point when they really have to link up to the Breaking Bad storyline. And there's sort of this thing hanging over the show in that they've introduced some characters that we don't see on Breaking Bad, so their fates have to be decided in some way. And I think the way that they've built up to this moment is really intriguing, because it kind of is giving you the opposite of a Breaking Bad, where Breaking Bad, it was kind of like, I think a lot of people really enjoyed seeing Walter get further and further into the depths of crime and into the Heisenberg persona. Like, there was something exciting about seeing him get bigger and bigger into that world. There is a bigger sense of tragedy, I think, around the characters of Better Call Saul, in that you see things maybe were better for them, or options that could have been better for them, and for whatever reason they keep getting pulled along into this sphere.
Keeps pulling me back.
Yeah, and there's a particularly meaningful arc with the Kim Wexler character, who for years and years was always Jimmy's kind of conscience and would pull him back from the bad and towards the good. And they've kind of like gone over a line with where she's at in a way that just it's unsettling. It's disturbing in a way that I think only great writing gets to be. I don't think I'm going to make this case, especially not right here, right now, but there's a case to be made that Better Call Saul is like a superiorly written show to Breaking Bad, which is hard to believe because Breaking Bad is close to perfect. But just thematically, man, I'm really, really into what Better Call Saul has been doing. I don't know.
Just not on the show. But someone may make the case.
Yeah, and someone should make that cut. I'm not going to make that case right now, but somebody should make that case.
I'll be a witness on the stand, Ben.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a really good season of television. I'm excited. I'm very much afraid that they're going to leave it off at a really annoying place, and then we're going to have to wait another month for it to come back for its second half. But yeah, they already dropped that we're getting to see some familiar faces are going to return not so long from now. So I'm just intrigued, man. I'm intrigued how they're going to put it all together.
I mean, considering what they did with El Camino, I'm a little worried, but I need to catch up on it, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Winning Time. I don't think we want to get too deep
got to catch
into
it, dude.
it.
Tell me.
Yeah, because this show is wrapping up its season next week. So I think we want to maybe finish the season and then talk about it in detail. But I binged all 9 episodes in the last week. And I have been really, really enjoying this show. More than maybe I feel like I should be. Like, there's a lot of things that I'm a little... I'm not sure why they're making some of these decisions, but collectively, it's extremely entertaining and extremely interesting. I find myself like pausing, looking things up, rewatching parts, like playing back parts so I can show them to Caitlin because she's not going to watch 9 hours of a Lakers drama. I'm really into the show. I think it's very funny. First of all, just the personalities and the expressiveness that they put into each character makes them very fun to watch. Like they've really done a great job of getting you invested in all these different storylines and all these different actors playing all these different people. But beyond that, there's just the drama of like, how are we going to hold this together? What's the next chip that's going to fall? There's all these twists in the story that I'm sure is being like overly dramatized, but all these twists that are just, it's almost like impossible to believe all of this happened to this group of people in this short period of time. But it's kept me on the edge of my seat. I really dig the way the show is shot too, in this sort of like pastiche of
Bro.
different styles and
Oh,
cameras and aspect ratios and whatever. It's got a really cool vibe to it. It's not just that the show is kind of like about the Showtime Lakers. It kind of has the feel of the Showtime Lakers in that it's splashy, it's sexy, it's fun, it's funny. I'm into the show, man.
I'm glad, dude. That's why it was one of my
Yeah.
recommendations last week. I agree with you. The way they shoot this is beautiful. It's some of my favorite cinematography. It sometimes looks ugly. They'll zoom in and they time it for a really good comedic effect, or because the character is kind of out of the loop about something. The way that they're able to really make it feel like you're in that time period is something that I'm very interested in how they're going to adapt that, considering that now they're seeing this as an anthology series. And we
Yeah.
talked about how they're going to do the 2000s Lakers for the next season. So we were talking about who the hell is going to play Shaq. But more than that, I'm very intrigued to see the way that they've been able to bring in like the 80s aesthetic to
Mm-hmm.
this season, how they're going to be able to do the 2000s aesthetic for that season.
Right, right.
I love the editing. I love the way it's shot. I love the cast of characters. And the fact that Kareem came out and said it was boring. I mean, when you've lived through it, of course anything
Right.
near it is going to be boring as can be. But the man's written about it. He said that a lot of the stuff that has happened on the show, he has confirmed as it being true as well. But yeah, no, I hope more people put this on their radar because yeah, it's fantastic, absolutely great.
Yeah. Really, really good. And I'm very, very into this group of actors that they got together. I also have this thing where every time I see Wood Harris, I'm like, I know who that is. Who is that? And then I look it up and I realize it's Wood Harris. But shout out Wood Harris, man.
It's a good cast.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about Barry, because Barry continues its third season with a really amazing episode last night. The thing about Barry is that Bill Hader is
He's so into the role.
he's such a likable guy, and I think he's such just like a charming screen presence that even through some of the really dark stuff that he does, you kind of still love him. And I just really respect that this show it understands that and is just and decided to like push against that. Decided, oh, you like this guy? Well, do you like him now? Do you like him now? Really? It's getting into some of the most psychologically disturbing stuff that this show has tackled through its 2 and now 3 seasons so far. The ending to last night's episode is absolutely chilling. I think Barry is one of the shows that does like a cut to credits better than most shows on television, because they know to leave you unsettled. They know that part of episodic TV is like you need to come back not knowing how to feel what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It's expertly crafted. I also think it's very funny that we're getting to see this greater evil emerge the closer and closer that Barry and the people around him come to like the center of the entertainment industry. It is an excellent TV show. I've gone back and watched the first 2 seasons just because I'm so excited that it's back. If you're not up on Barry, get up on Barry, because it is excellent.
I have to.
Excellent TV.
Will do.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you caught the most recent episode of Atlanta, but thought we should at least touch on it because it's another interesting episode of what's been an exciting third season. It is the third bottle episode that they've done, Trinity to the Bone. And it's the first of several that Donald Glover is directing to kind of round out season 3. I think he's directing the 8th and 10th episode, and he is co-writing the 8th and 9th episodes, or maybe the 9th and 10th episodes. Basically, we're getting a lot of Donald Glover's creativity to end season 3 of Atlanta. So I'm very excited to hear from the guy, hear from the main source as we round out season 3. Interesting that they've saved so much of his stuff for the end. This episode in particular was probably my least favorite of the 3 bottle episodes we got this year, but it's Atlanta, so it's always going to be intriguing and thought-provoking and darkly funny. That whole scene at the funeral was just excellent stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's still just a great show, and I wish we were getting more than just 10 episodes of the 3rd season.
You think it's lived up to the hiatus? All the pressure that it put on itself.
I mean, look, I don't know if you can ever really live up to a hiatus. I don't know if that's even like a fair thing to do, right? Like it's been gone for so
Eh,
long that
eh.
it's look, it's gonna be like hard to answer that kind of anticipation, right? Like people are gonna say the next Kendrick album was not worth the wait, but
They'd hopefully be wrong, Zach. But here, I don't think it has it lived up to any of the previous 3 seasons.
I I'll say that
Forget the hiatus stuff.
it's probably my least favorite of the 3 seasons so far, but I think there's classic
That's all I'm
episodes.
asking.
There's classic bits. I'm really
There's
enjoying it.
classic bits. There's classic bits. I feel. I don't think we've had a classic episode other than the pilot, probably.
Three Stops was classic. I thought the fourth episode was classic. I like the billionaire episode.
Fourth
You didn't like the
was
billionaire episode? Fourth
what was the
episode
fourth
was
one?
reparations with Justin Bartha.
Interesting bits is what it had.
I still love this show, man. I still think it's excellent. Maybe not the best that they've ever done, but I'm very intrigued. I'm also wondering if we're gonna get a little bit more of a focus on Lakeith or on Zazzy's characters because they've been a little bit on the side so far this season.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, they've kind of acknowledged that Van isn't around, but I don't know.
Yeah, every episode.
Yeah.
And even when she's there, she's not there, is what they continue to tell you. But we'll see. We'll see. Always looking forward to new episodes of it.
Definitely. Is that it for our TV roundup? I mean, we're gonna get back to a lot of these shows when they wrap
40,000 shows, yeah.
Jeez.
But hopefully have some new ones.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up some of the stuff that was in the chat. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know some people were mentioning some shows, and I'm curious if you've caught on any of these.
Yeah. Let's start with.
Let's see, Ricky.
Anoki mentioned. Would you recommend Winning Time for someone who isn't a basketball fan to stick with Winning Time, which we were just talking about a moment ago?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's enough there, just not just stylistically, but just in terms of these characters, that you don't really
Performances are
have to
great.
care about the basketball. The basketball is mostly at the fringes of the show, right? Like all you really need to know is like they want this team to win, and some of these guys are really good basketball players. But it's not like you don't need to know strategy or care like who's in the Western Conference versus the East. It's mostly about the people and the situations, and again like the style. So I'd recommend it even if you aren't necessarily a basketball fan. What was the question we got from Ricky?
He was pretty much just comparing one of the characters to who was in the show, also being in Snowfall on FX. I don't know if you've seen Snowfall on FX, but DeMarco, one of the directors for the show, has also done a lot of FX. He was a director of Cheese, which we really enjoyed out of South by. So I have not caught up on Snowfall, but after that Pusha T album, yeah, kind of need to be catching up on Snowfall. So that's one that's on my radar.
Sick. We got a question from Pink Sweets asking if we've seen Somebody Somewhere, another HBO Max one that she enjoyed. I didn't see that one. I think that's the Olivia Colman one, which just goes to show you how bad
is it?
Is it?
No, that's a different one. I think that's the Landscapers one. This is one. It's more like a comedy. It's also an HBO original. I got to see 2 episodes of it.
Okay. This is the
more like a
Bridget Everett one.
Yes.
Yes.
And she's really good in it. I've not caught up with it completely yet, but when it premiered, I was able to catch the pilot of it, and it's pretty good. I'd have to. It's one of those where you definitely have to live with the characters for a couple of episodes to really get like the gist of the show. But I thought that one was pretty good. I know someone else had also mentioned a show that is over on Netflix, which is the Heartstopper show.
Is that
I don't know
Netflix?
if you've heard about this one.
I thought it was Hulu. Am I wrong? I could be wrong.
If this is the Olivia Colman show, then it is the one that is on Netflix. I'm pretty sure because this morning they were talking about the fact that this thing has hit. Yeah, this is the Olivia Colman one on Netflix. The amount of tweets that they were able to compile for this, it is the most tweeted about show, and people demanding a second season because they haven't greenlit it yet, and them having to Netflix supposedly having to put it into production immediately so that they could flip it in time. Because the amount of people who have been talking about this show has been insane, which just brings me back to how is this not in the top 10 yet? Then are these analytics for Netflix not right? Or are they just ignoring stuff that people are actually talking about on other social medias? And how can it be trending on different social media sites, but not on the site itself?
Well,
when none of the top 10 there.
I wonder if that's
talked about.
a better example of the way in which social media is not necessarily as representative as sometimes we think we are of like the greater public, right? Because like Heartstopper does strike me as this very like trendy show. It's about like young love. It's got a queer storyline in it. It's the type of show that like would dominate Tumblr if young people were still on Tumblr. I don't know. I don't think young people are still on Tumblr. They don't talk to me. But it's like it's just like a cute show, and I wonder if because maybe the demographic is a little bit limited, but it is a demographic that is very online. That's why like you can't scroll down Twitter without seeing 4 shipping posts from Heartstoppers, but like it's not on the top 10 on Netflix. Although I think I did see it on number 10 on Netflix, so it's working its way up there.
This is one that is on my radar. We caught one episode of it. I know the people have been like demanding videos for this one like crazy. So this is one that I definitely do need to finish. I just felt like it wasn't even like in the original press release when I was collecting stuff for April. I didn't even have it on my radar until it popped off.
Yeah.
And again, this is considering it's got Olivia Colman as I believe producer on it as well, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
know. What else did we have? Oh, Ernie wanted to know if we had any thoughts on the trailer for Don't Worry, Darling, which dropped maybe like 2 hours before we started streaming.
Ago, yeah.
Did you get to catch it yet, or are you abstaining from the trailer?
I caught the email in the morning. I'm going to catch it if it plays on the big screen. If I'm going to go see Don't Worry, Darling, I want to see the new MCU guy up there with, with Florence Pugh. On the big screen for that one, so I'm gonna wait for that. Unlike the Avatar teaser that we're gonna go see today, before our Doctor Strange showing today, they're going to be showing the Avatar 2 teaser trailer on a loop for 30 minutes straight with the 3D glasses out there. That one I will be watching. But,
excited, yeah.
If they are showing Don't Worry, Don't Worry, Darling?
Yeah.
In 3D, I'll catch it. I'll catch the 3D trailer.
I did watch the trailer. I mean, it looks solid. I don't want to like sound too negative about it in that like it's almost so slickly assembled that I'm a little suspicious of it. But that's just me being weird. Like I don't know. My brain is a little bit broken by trailers at this point that I'm trying to like 3D chess them and be like, oh, well, if it looks good, that means it's gotta be bad, right? Like I don't know. I did think it was a little bit funny that they have this shot that's so similar to Midsommar. I don't know if you've seen people showing this one off already, that they've got
no.
It's part of a new subgenre of Florence Pugh looking at people falling, but I don't know, it's intriguing. I've seen a lot of people,
every movie's copied from Midsommar.
I've seen a lot of people say that this looks a lot like a Jordan Peele movie, and I think that's part of what my suspicion is about it. It kind of looks like it's that brand of movie that started popping up after Get Out, which was just like, oh, we can make this like slickly assembled social thriller. And I don't know, man. Nothing has lived up to Get Out, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit wary of this one, although there's no reason. All the stars seem aligned for this to be a good movie.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll see. I haven't seen the trailer yet, but come back to it.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's most of the news that we were going to talk about. Why don't we talk a little bit about the new to see, the upcoming releases that will be in theaters and on streaming and all the good places. Let's kick it off with All My Puny Sorrows, which stars Alison Pill as well as Sarah Gadon. This was a 2021 Toronto Film Festival selection. I've seen some decent reviews of this one, so I'm curious about it, and it's going to be out on VOD as well as digital on May 3rd. That's tomorrow. Then on May 5th is a show that you actually caught the first episode of, Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about this one.
You're following this dude who wants to be known as one of the greatest criminals of all time, and he's kind of retelling his own story. Like another movie that came out not too long ago, Aileen, that decides to do some interesting special effects on putting the present-day actor's face over a much younger version of themselves. You have these very goofy kind of flashbacks detailing, how he became this iconic thief. He kind of wants to be his own little good fella. It's done in a different language. I'm blanking on what language it is, but I don't want to say it's Swedish, but you're practically just following his journey to become one of the most notorious criminals
Yeah,
on his side.
it's the dude who coined Stockholm syndrome in one way or another, right? That's what they're saying in the
Is it
description.
so?
Yeah,
Oh
this
wow.
is who would.
I mean, it's Pennywise himself, so he definitely has a very creepy look.
Yeah, so that will be out on Netflix on May 5th. Also on May 5th, season 1 of Julia wraps up. This is the show about Julia Child, starring, what's her name? Is it Alison? Oh no, it's
She's really good
Sarah
in it.
Lancashire. Yeah, Sarah Lancashire is the star of this one. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those shows that again has just kind of been like a victim of how much TV there is to watch right now. Because I thought this one looked really charming, but I didn't get around to it. You said you watched a little bit of it.
I caught the first 2 episodes. I thought it was a really good performance from her. There was also the Julia doc that came out
Yeah,
last year that was also uh, being pushed for Oscars because it was also Sony Pictures Classic. So I'd say if you were able to catch that one and this, it'd be like a nice little doubleheader.
nice. The show that we're really excited for on May 5th is Mike Myers' return.
Coming back,
It's the
baby.
Pentaverate, this intriguing comedy mystery show coming to Netflix on, as I said, May 5th, with Mike Myers, as well as some other funny people involved, including Keegan-Michael Key and Ken Jeong. Also, Jeremy Irons is in this one. I'm just excited for Mike Myers to be back. I mean, obviously, it hasn't been the greatest track record with his last couple. I don't know if there's any Secret Love Guru fans out there. Not me.
Stop.
But man is a comedy legend. He is a
Easily.
genuine icon. And if he's the creator of a new show,
And they're keeping it under wraps the way that they are. They don't want anything to be spoiled. I'm very excited for this
very
one.
excited. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed with this one because it can go a couple ways, but I'm hoping it goes our way.
It can.
I'm hoping it
Same.
goes our way. Another very intriguing show dropping on May 5th is The Staircase. This is the dramatization of the extremely famous true crime doc series of the same name that tells the story of Michael Peterson, a crime novelist who is accused of killing his wife Kathleen after she's found dead at the bottom of a staircase in their home. It has a very good cast, including Toni Collette, Sophie Turner, Michael Stolberg, Colin Firth, Dane DeHaan, Odessa Young, Rosemary DeWitt, and Parker Posey, as well as some other recognizable faces. It's a very interesting story that, depending on which telling of it you listen to, even involves owls scratching out eyeballs. But I'm very curious to see how they do it in this telling of the story, because there's obviously with true crime stuff, there's always disputes over how things went down. And I don't know, I'm not as up on this case as I used to be, so I don't remember exactly who everybody's mad at online. But I'm curious to see whether or not this can become kind of like the definitive version of sorts. Because the other thing that's interesting is
Good director too.
who's the director of this one? Oh, Antonio
Antonio Campos, who did Devil All the Time. He did
Yeah.
Christine, Simon Killer. Those are pretty good movies, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And, one of the other things that seems intriguing about the show is it looks like they're going to make the making of the documentary a part of the show. So I'm very curious to see how they handle that as well.
Damn.
The Staircase
I-
on May 5th. Then we got a few interesting things happening on May 6th. Some movies coming, including Anais in Love is hitting VOD. That's one of the best reviewed movies of the year so far. Along for the Ride is on Netflix. You said this one's coming from, is it the writer or the director of To All the Boys?
I believe it's the writer from the books for To All the Boys. This would be another one of hers getting adapted for Netflix. So I know there's a lot of hype for it.
Yeah. The biggest movie that is hitting theaters this weekend is obviously Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, directed by none other than Sam Raimi, the superhero filmmaker GOAT, of course, returning to the genre many years later. Does he still have what he had in Spider-Man 2? Or will the
We'll find out
MCU
tonight.
machine eat him up? Yes, we will find out
I'm gonna
tonight.
tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this right now, Zach. I want to come out of this movie saying that it's better than Spider-Man 2, Zach. If I can come out of this movie,
No. Sorry, dude. No, it's not happening.
You can't be disappointed if you just set yourself up for disappointment already, right? I think that was what the last character said in the last MCU movie we got. I'm going all in. I'm putting all my chips on the table, Zach. I've heard some rumors. I've heard some leaks. I am.
You ain't seen some leaks? I've seen some leaks, unfortunately.
I don't even know what's true now anymore. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. But you and I are catching it tonight. I don't know if our screenings are going to be in 3D because that's a big push. You cannot see this movie in IMAX in most places unless you're getting those 3D glasses. So I think they have stuff up their sleeves, man. They wouldn't have brought them back. My theory is that the MCU looked at DC and said, you know what? Forget hiring indie directors and then just turning them into a machine. Let's finally hire some talent.
Right.
I guess let directors direct.
Crazy concept.
I'm hoping this is the beginning. Or maybe I'm gonna completely hate it and it'll be a horrible start to me.
We will be back next week talking about that in an after credits. So make sure you see it this weekend so you don't get spoiled when we talk about it. And I think we said we want to do our Patreon hangout after that after credits. So
For Doctor Strange, I mean, from what we're hearing in the leaks.
Yeah, so if you want to
Yes, sir.
discuss with us, make sure you're a patron of the podcast over on patreon.com/intercutpod, and we will be doing our patron hangout next week post Doctor Strange 2.
We'll also be talking about Happening.
Yeah.
From IMC Films.
Hey, it might be the better of the two movies. I think it will be. This one, which I think was a Venice Film Festival premiere last year. It's got some awards from that, I think. A really interesting drama from France about a woman's plight for an abortion. It's almost like the 1960s France set, never, rarely, sometimes, always. Although that's obviously a really reductive way to talk about a movie, but it's just like a very unflinching drama, right? Like it's got also one of the hardest scenes to watch I've seen in quite a while, but I think in terms of the way that it really puts you in her situation is very compelling. The actress is very, very good here. I would definitely keep this one on your radar. It's a very solid movie that right now is only opening in theaters in New York and LA, but it'll expand very shortly, and we'll keep mentioning it as it hits VOD and stuff like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Another one that we caught at Sundance 2021, though, was Human Factors, a very intriguing German drama about a family that experiences a home invasion and how that starts to pull them apart. They do a very intriguing non-linear construction to the story in that, like, you see some of the things that you see the end a little before you see the beginning, and the way that it keeps going back and giving you new information recasts the rest of the story in your eyes. It's cleverly written. I don't know if it really has like the hammer that you want in stories like this, but it's a clever little movie.
I think I liked it the most out of our group,
You
so
did.
I would recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lux Eterna is hitting theaters in New York. It is the film from Gaspar Noé, who did. I don't think this one has had an American release yet, so that's exciting that it's out there. It's mostly out there to promote Vortex, which is his latest new film.
Yeah, he's got two, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully that one expands to your area soon. One that won't be expanding theatrically to your area, but you will get it on Netflix is... Oh, wait, I clicked on the wrong Marmaduke. This is the 2010 Marmaduke. There is a 2022 Marmaduke coming to Netflix starring...
You just didn't want to.
Yeah. The vocal stylings of Pete Davidson. This one is embargoed for review, so even though I've seen it, I'm not allowed to share my thoughts, but Art hasn't seen it. What do you think about Marmaduke?
I can't wait to experience what looks like the worst animation. And again, I haven't seen it, so I'm not embargoed out of anything. The worst animation I've ever seen in a trailer. Dear Lord. You said it was Pete Davidson voicing the dog?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
We will see. And then finally on May 6th, Tehran returns to Apple TV Plus for a second season. This Israeli set show has gotten some excellent reviews, and I know a lot of people who are really into it, so I'm excited to potentially catch up, because I never got around to that first season, but now that we're getting a second season, this one's back on my radar. So let us know if you've watched Tehran, because I've heard a lot of good things about that first season.
I'm good.
Yeah. But I think that's about it for the new to see, which means we got to give you our picks for the week. Art, what are you recommending people start out with in picks for the week?
Obviously in theaters you're gonna have a slew of stuff. So if you haven't caught up on any of the picks that we've had for the previous weeks, do that now, especially with Doctor Strange coming out. I'm sure people will be going for that. I'm going to recommend Belle, which is out on VOD now. This is an anime that came out technically at the beginning of this year, but it was up for Oscars for last year. And it pretty much follows this young girl who, after a bunch of trauma growing up, realizes that she has a really nice outlet in this virtual world that has been created where she can have her anonymity and be this big pop star. I really like the way that they created this world. I thought the voice acting was done pretty well and the animation is superb. So put this one on your radar if you're interested in watching a movie in the comfort of your own home. But the other ones, I just keep doubling up now that Undone is out. My twofer of Undone and Russian Doll. Over on Netflix, over on Prime. I think that they're both fantastic series that follow really intriguing main characters on a crazy journey. They both look incredible. I think Russian Doll, we talked about this a lot last week, has some of the best shots in a TV series of this year so far. There are some just beautiful images that they display as she's traveling across this train. So yeah, Undone and Russian Doll, put those on your radar.
Very good shows. A lot of good shows going on right now. I feel like I've recommended Atlanta enough times that I don't need to do
TV
it again.
guide, bro.
Yeah, I will probably recommend Barry a lot, but it's starting its run, so definitely recommend Barry. My biggest recommendations right now are Winning Time, because it's about to wrap up its season, so make sure, if you've been waiting to kind of binge them, now is a good time to start. It's an excellent show for the basketball fan and non-basketball fan alike. So I would recommend that one over on HBO. I would recommend Better Call Saul on AMC, because that's just, in terms of TV craft, it's hard to get a lot better than that. The directing is unbelievable. The writing is superb. The acting is amazing. Just a great and consistently underrated show. No matter how much praise Better Call Saul gets, it stays underrated, which is a crazy thing. That mathematically should not be possible, but it is. The Pentaverate, the only show I'm recommending that's not out yet, but that's how much confidence I have in Mike Myers. Hyped. I'm going to be disappointed if this is the Love Guru too. Man, I really, really want this one to be good. So I'm sure we'll talk about it more next week. And then in terms of theaters, look, there's a big movie, multiverse movie that everybody is really talking about and excited about and telling their friends about. You got to see Everything Everywhere All at Once in theaters. That's the movie to go see in theaters this weekend. Out. They
say it's being released in IMAX again. I don't know how that's going to work with Doctor Strange taking all those IMAX stuff, but that is a movie that I want to catch in IMAX, considering they know how to work their ratios in that film.
We didn't talk about the fact that this movie is just killing it at the box office, just refusing to go away or cower to bigger movies. It did an insane weekend of a 0% drop. I've never even heard of that for an indie movie.
Yeah, those are crazy numbers. Those are crazy numbers.
It's awesome. It's so cool to see, and ultimately, it's a great argument in favor of this kind of limited theatrical release style, this word of mouth style. That, as frustrating as it is for movie fans like us who want to just go see the films, it's been amazing that this film has gotten so many people to come around to it, has brought people out to the movie theaters in ways they weren't doing since pre-pandemic over a film that is not really recognizable in the way that a lot of big box office hits are recognizable.
So cinema isn't dead, Zach?
Movies aren't dead.
Because it's been dying since 1965, bro. So I don't know.
R.I.P.
What a zombie.
Movies are dying, I guess.
R.I.P. the R.I.P.
What else is there? I did not mention, but I want to give a quick shout out to a couple film festivals that are also happening in the next week. If you are in the New York area or the Los Angeles area, there are some options for you. The Harlem Film Festival starts on May 5th and runs through the 15th. A lot of interesting stuff playing there. And the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival also runs from May 5th through May 13th. This one has a few films that we've even talked about on Intercut, including the South by Southwest award winner Bad Axe, the Sundance award winner Leonor Will Never Die, and a few other Sundance films, Every Day in Kamuki, Free Chol Soo Lee, and the South by Southwest movie Omayari, a song film by Kishibashi. So movies that we have given our thumbs up to, sometimes are like very eager thumbs up to, are playing at these film festivals. So if you're looking to catch something early, you got some chances both in the New York and LA areas.
Nice.
All right, so I think that's about it for this week's podcast, but we'll be back with maybe later this week even with some after credits or some yay or nays. Let us know if there's something you really want us to talk about, especially if there's some news. If there's some recent happenings in the world of entertainment that we haven't talked about that you want to hear us talk about, please leave us a comment, shoot us an email at intercutpod@gmail.com. Just get in touch with us any of the normal ways you do. But again, that's about all for this edition of the Weekend Must Watch. Catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. That's ZSHEV as in Vortex, ICH. And check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplex show. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me over at LME Explain on Twitter, on YouTube, on Letterboxd, and in whatever multiverse you're going to be at this weekend. Because after this, I am just so sick and tired of everyone is going to just do multiverses to death, bro. I want to go to the multiverse where there's no such thing as multiverses. I missed that time
we'll
already.
Find that one. We'll find it soon. You can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. I happen to like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can catch our bright smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut Weekly Must Watch streaming on our YouTube channel every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We actually hit the 3 p.m. this week. We did it. We're back to normal. I'm back home. Please leave us a comment, like the video. Consider heading over to iTunes to give us that much requested 5-star review. And another shout out to y'all in Ecuador for putting us on the TV and film podcast charts out there. Big moves there in Ecuador. Like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. All of them are at IntricatPod to get updates throughout the week from me, from Art, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. And also, as we mentioned, make sure you go and check out the Patreon at patreon.com/intercutpod, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show and help us produce more podcasts, as well as get access to episode outlines early, get access to the Intercut patron-only channels of the Discord where we can chat, or our monthly hangouts where we actually meet up with you guys on Google Meetings and break down whatever you've been seeing and whatever you've been watching. So if you want to yell at us about movies and what shows we should be watching or what opinions we have that are bad, it only takes $1 a month to do that to our faces.
Jeez.
Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you in the multiverse without more multiverses.